What actually happens when Border Patrol deports or expels migrants who cross illegally through the U.S. Mexico border? How does a human trafficker or coyote continue getting arrested and bails out to allegedly traffic again? We show you why the federal court has now gotten involved in one of these cases. And a one-on-one with Governor Abbott on his long-term strategy to work with the new administration. Does it mean Texas will spend less on the border so that the federal government can pick up the bill? I'm Yami Virgin with Sinclair Broadcasting in San Antonio, Texas, for another edition of Immigration Crisis, the Fight for the Southern Border. This week, we actually take you to Maverick County. That's where Eagle Pass, Texas is located. We met up with Border Patrol as they did their routine deportations or expulsions of migrants who crossed illegally into the U.S. We started out our exclusive ride-along around 7 a.m. in a processing center called Firefly in the outskirts of Eagle Pass on the same road that leads you to Del Rio, 45 minutes away. We were here in 2022 when this processing center was built and put to use. This morning, we met with Acting Chief Milton Moreno to see the process from migrants boarding the buses to the middle of one of the international bridges in Eagle Pass, when the Instituto Nacional de Migración, or the National Institute of Immigration, meets Border Patrol mid-bridge to take those who are being sent back to Mexico and some back to their native country. Chief Moreno tells us this process is seamless thanks to the great cooperation they have with the Mexican counterparts. Talk to us about today compared to last year, compared to the year before. What's the difference, especially in the area where we're standing?
All right, so as you can see, the area here behind me, if you remember some of the pictures and videos from December of 23, the week leading up to Christmas, we had anywhere from 6,000 to 7,000 migrants under the POE here, and then another 5,000 to 6,000 at our processing facility. Of late, and definitely since the administration changed, our numbers have significantly decreased. As you can see behind me, there are 0 encounters here, and that's pretty much the way it's been over the last 10 days or so.
For you guys, this is like a breathing time. You've been nonstop going till a few months ago started going down.
Correct.
Are you expecting it to remain this way? What are you guys doing right now that you have that breathing time?
Well, right now we continue to enforce our laws, and our agents are back out in the field and focusing more on targeting and intelligence and going after the criminal aliens. We continue to work with our partners day to day, whether it be Texas DPS, Texas National Guard, Texas Military Department, local police department here in Eagle Pass and Del Rio, and local sheriffs. So together we continue to enhance border security.
For you all, when you get people, especially from Venezuela, you're looking for those Tren de Araguas, you're looking for gang members. How are you picking them out right now? And when you do get them, what's the process?
It's a vetting process, and we have our intelligence analysts and agents looking out and asking the right questions, and then identifying marks on their bodies on these Tren de Aragua gang members, and whether they're from Venezuela or any other country, because in the past we focus a lot on the MS-13, Sureños and everything else. So it's not a new process, it's a new trend with Tren de Aragua, but we continue with that same vetting process and ensure that we don't release criminal aliens into our country. And for that fact, no one's being released right now.
So when they come in, what's the process? They get picked up, and these are the people picked up by Border Patrol?
Correct.
Okay, so the ones that get picked up by Border Patrol, what's the process that we went through this morning? We
transfer them over to our processing facility. There we vet their records. We ensure that they are who they claim to be. And if they don't have any criminal charges pending here in the U.S., they are repatriated back to Mexico. Those that do have a criminal history are processed accordingly and turned over to ICRO for further detention and processing.
All right, so tell me about the acronym and who are those people, the one that we kept?
So Immigration and Customs Enforcement, we turn them over to them. So for Border Patrol, a lot of folks tend to complain. We are not a holding facility, we are more processing. We turn them over to our sister agency in Immigration and Customs Enforcement for additional detention.
Okay. And then for the people this morning that we saw, I got clarified one time before by an attorney, were they expelled or were they deported from the U.S.?
We are able to quickly return these illegal aliens back into Mexico, and the government of Mexico has been a great partner in accepting the CVNHs as we talked about, so Cuban, Venezuelans, Haitians, Nicaraguas, and here recently they added Central Americans, Guatemala and Salvador and Honduras, and obviously the Mexican nationals.
Okay, so what we saw today, we got to the bridge, and that's all coordinated. It's not just come and pick them up. You guys coordinate.
Correct.
With Mexico.
So every day we coordinate with Governor of Mexico, our counterparts in Mexican immigration, and we manifest. We turn over the illegal aliens over to them, and we tend to do them during daylight hours between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m.
Okay. And once they get them, where do they go from there?
From there, Mexico either takes them into the interior of Mexico, Mexico City, by bus or by plane, and some into their native country.
Okay. The ones that you can't take back, the Venezuelans that can't go back, where do they go?
That's on Mexico, and I cannot answer for them.
Okay. All right. Are you seeing people come back?
We have not. In years past, we used to see that recidivism where you apprehend the same person on 3 consecutive days. We have not seen that now because you return them back into the interior of Mexico or to their native country, and it makes it more difficult for them to start that journey again.
Okay. What do people ask you that you're just like, what are the questions that people ask you when they come here? They're not used to the border. I mean, I think a lot of people think it's a war zone on this side. So what do you tell people when they come here and they see all of this? Are they shocked?
Well, this is day to day, and I'm glad, and I welcome anyone from the interior of the country or even from the local area to come out here and see what we do. Some folks have not paid attention to what's going on, and they feel that it's just happening on certain parts of the border, and it's across the Southwest. And our thing is, we're going to maintain and work with our partners and government of Mexico to keep our Southwest border safe, and not just the border, but enhance security throughout the country.
What keeps you up at night?
I'm going to say, difficult to say, but as long as the administration has our back and keeps supporting, we're going to be in a good place. And we've seen that over the last few weeks. Our agents are happy now that we are able, more than anything, to do our job. And that's our main thing. Just let us do our job, and we'll enhance not just border security, like I mentioned, but security in the entire country.
How important is it that, especially, I know from Panama, 36 Iranians were stopped last month. How important is it to have that partnership going all the way down south?
It's important to maintain those partnerships, not just with our neighboring countries in Mexico and Canada, but throughout Central and South America, because we are able to return these migrants or illegal aliens back to their respective country, and those that have pending criminal charges or are identified as or have derogatory information in their background should not be free to walk in any country.
Those people that you get here, Tren de Araguas, are they part of the people that are now going to be shipped to Guantanamo?
Some of those folks, and as a matter of fact, we had a flight, the first flight, leave from El Paso yesterday into Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and a lot of those were Venezuelan nationals with ties to Tren de Aragua.
All right, so where are we at right now? What area is this?
This is an Eagle Pass, an area known as Foster's.
Okay, and you guys had a lot of people that would come through here before.
That is correct. As we started to enforce our assets out at the port of entry, we started to see large groups coming through this point here, which is a neighborhood here in Eagle Pass.
Okay. Talk to us about what's going on now. So now when you encounter someone, are they paroled into the country or everyone's going back?
So since the end of catch and release, everyone that's coming across the country, illegally entering the country, is going to get detained, arrested, and processed accordingly to include return back to their native country.
Talk to me about over there. Who's that over there on the other side? You have Mexican military now getting here?
The government of Mexico recently had an agreement with the U.S., and that is to deploy Sedena or Guardia Nacional onto their northern portion of the border. So, and the same thing to enhance border security.
Does that help you?
Absolutely. Since their deployment, our encounters has significantly decreased.
Some of those who were deported or expelled had the help of coyotes or human smugglers to get into the U.S. and some caught away from the border. Sometimes the coyotes are found and arrested, but what happens to some is mind-boggling, as we found out. My colleague Jordan Elder tells us of one coyote who has been in and out of jail numerous times, that is, until now.
26 migrants found in sweltering conditions, transported in a false compartment inside this trailer.
Fortunately, we were able to get these people before any of them passed as a result.
People paid to smuggle 12 migrants in one car, busted along I-35 in Von Ormy.
So these people were basically stacked like cordwood inside this car. There were several children among those people.
And 16 migrants hiding in cars and a shed in Laredo. The common denominator in each of these cases? 30-year-old Abelardo Herrera.
We've got 3 different incidents involving this person that clearly has not gotten the point that his activities are highly illegal.
Herrera was handed 26 counts of human smuggling and 1 count of engaging with organized criminal activity after his arrest in South Bexar County. His bond was set at almost $1.4 million, with conditions like GPS monitoring, house arrest, and firearm restrictions. So how was he able to get out and continue smuggling? Officials point to a bond reduction in July. A judge slashed the bond amount down to $285,000. Using bail bond companies, Herrera got out. He was even granted partial house arrest to allow for work. But as we now know, that work included smuggling.
How do we allow him to operate from his house, not monitored, not looked after? How is that taking care of our public? It's not.
State Representative John Lujan says this situation is incredibly frustrating, and it's part of a larger issue he's noticed with our bail bond system. Herrera is currently being held in Laredo, but eventually he'll be transported back here to the Bexar County Jail. But will he be able to walk out these doors again? We took that question to the district attorney, and he says it's in the hands of judges.
That what we make are recommendations to the judge. The magistrate judge has to make the decision whether or not to adopt the recommendation.
Gonzalez says he can't talk about pending cases, but explained his office makes recommendations on a case-by-case basis. Records show his office recommended the original bond amount and conditions for Herrera. In a situation like this where you have recommended a bond for someone, it gets lowered, they reoffend, eventually they're going to be back in Bexar County. What is your office's plan from there to make sure that the community is safe?
So we're going to push for as high a bond as possible. And in the event where we're able to ask that the person is remanded without a bond, then we're going to seek that they be remanded.
He agrees that it's a matter of public safety. Lujan says this could be something the state legislature takes up if communities are struggling to keep smugglers behind bars.
Thank you, Jordan. We will keep track of this case and have Jordan's update soon. On Friday, Governor Greg Abbott gave our colleague Mariah Medina in Austin a sit-down interview where he explains to us what he sees is going to be the long-term strategy now that Donald Trump is president once again.
They have a need for speed.
Governor Greg Abbott is talking about the Trump administration.
A top priority is what Texas is doing to collaborate with the Trump administration to make sure we're doing everything possible to secure the border, as well as to provide the Trump administration with the resources they need to be more effective.
Working closely and quickly to identify ways the government can make use of the Lone Star State's existing multi-billion-dollar border enforcement operations.
We'll be learning more here this month and next month exactly what the United States investment looks like.
Billions of Texas taxpayer dollars have been poured into border security through the years, and there's another $6.5 billion presently budgeted over the next 2 years. The governor says he's met with the president and will soon be meeting with Congress about ways to share that burden with the White House.
One thing that we've seen is that illegal immigration across the border has slowed to just a trickle. If we're able to maintain that, it means that the border is going to be more secure. If the border is more secure, we can recalibrate exactly what we need to spend.
From authorizing state law enforcement to aid federal immigration authorities, offering land to build a border wall, military bases to house federal personnel, and providing 4,000 prison beds to potentially house undocumented detainees, Governor Abbott says they're laying it all out to support the new federal focus on immigration and border enforcement.
We want to do more than just secure the border for the next 4 years. We want to secure the border for the next 40 years.
Thank you, Mariah, and thank you, everyone, for joining us again this week for another edition of Immigration Crisis, the fight for the southern border. In San Antonio, Texas, I'm Yami Virgin for Sinclair Broadcasting, where we continue being the eyes and ears of what's going on at the border. Until next time.